The next stop is Times Square, 42nd Street.
Get some close-ups. That's in the year 2020. They got the new trains behind you. Go take a closer look.
Can you tell me, are you going to do the open house with us? Are you going to do the open house?
I thought it was like
Oh, no, what time is it?
almost 7.
It's 6:38. No, we've got time.
Okay, thank you.
We're just asking everyone if they can put the
The hashtag?
either scan the code or do the question pro address and then bring up a survey. Okay, and you'll be able to tell us what you think. Okay, about the pictures.
Thank you. I already had your voice.
How many computers do you have?
Over 12. And they're going to get me more. But this is what happens. There's only have internet connection. And I pay for the high-speed internet connection. So I can get these things done. And let me tell you, sometimes they just don't want to do it. Most of the people start choosing most of everybody's on the
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Welcome to the tour, the train of the
Thank you.
future.
Do you think so? You think they're gonna go for standing up opposed to sitting down?
Say that again?
You think they're gonna go for standing up opposed to sitting
No,
down?
they're going to sit down, but the seats are smaller, the space is wider, and you can walk straight through.
So
No more
they're
doors separating the cars.
and the train is gonna consist of how many cars?
It depends on what line.
Yeah. So each
We
car
got
that's
an IND and we got a BMT.
so each car that's added, you're gonna have a straight shot through.
The only car you won't be able to walk through is the conductor's cab.
And the conductor's cab is it the first one?
usually- no.
Is it the one in the middle?
Right.
Okay.
Train operator is
Yeah.
the one in the front.
So that's the conductor that looks out the window and
Open and
sees.
close
Yeah.
the door.
Okay.
That's the one, that's the mechanics of the train.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, baby. Enjoy.
You too.
locked out. I like that too. Right. All right, I got you.
I believe seats are gonna be fewer. She says no, they're gonna be smaller, but think they're gonna be fewer. Because you see this setup here. That setup is gonna be like if an elderly person or elderly persons want to sit down. Yeah. And what do you think that right there, that design, what do you think that design is meant for?
I have no idea.
You ever get on a train and there are people who goes like this
Oh, yeah.
and stand up on it and put their back
Yeah,
right
right.
up against it? Now you have at least that much space before you can
True.
tell them to get out of here.
Good point.
Yeah. See that? Now even if they put their back up against that, which a lot of people do, it's like a comfort zone. Yeah. Is that your Metro card? Soon to be gone? That's another point that they're phasing out too, the Metro card. So she's talking about this here is the connector between each car, opposed to, you know how you got that open area that some people cross to go from car to car, which you're not supposed to do. Thank you.
Yeah. Size is okay. But
So if you look at my other videos, you'll see where
last car, the next last car to the last. You can walk through. You can go down that way. Without having to run out the car. Remember you got to run out the train?
Yeah, around the
But you're not supposed to though, are you?
Right. Right.
So now you can go.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, I don't want to ride in this car.
Right. That's nice.
Yeah, right. Just the open gangway. More space. It's soft, right? If you bump into it, it's not too bad.
So if you get usually a train is what, like 5 cars?
10.
10 cars? Yeah, so you're gonna have like, she just told me that you're gonna have like the open gangway where you go through. The only one is the conductor's car. So the conductor's.
No, this is a regular train. This is what the train looks like.
Yeah, but the entire train.
Yes, and I think it helps with. Yes, I think it helps with crowding too. But you know how some people bunch into one area and they don't move in.
Yeah.
I think it helps too because it shows you move.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is.
Move through.
What I'm asking is that they're going to make the train itself, because this is just a car.
Yeah,
A train.
Come with me. Come.
So you'll have access to practically the entire train. The only obstacle, it seemed from the questions that I've asked, is that the conductor's car, there will be like the usual you can't pass straight through setup, because he has to have access from one side to the other. So there will be a blockage, but and I guess it's going to consist of 8 cars. I was under the impression that a total train, because you have cars and then you have a train that's made up of 8 or 10 cars. So you'll have access to front 4 and rear rear 4 cars. You go straight through. So overcrowding in particular cars and not enough passengers on another car will be lessened that way. So passenger will be more evenly distributed. Supposedly it's more standing room. But the car, if you look at my other video of the setup of the one that's running on the shuttle from Grand Central to Times Square, the cars are in the back and in the front. And this might be the reason why this is the front or the back of the train, depending on which direction the train is going. So this is the front car and the back car. And usually as the trains are set up now, the front or the back of the train, the cars are different. This is the motorman's car, and there is one motorman's car at the back and one motorman car at the front. And this particular car is totally different because there is all those seats in there. Now, reason for that? Maybe because it's a motorman's car, because right now on the shuttle line from Times Square to Grand Central, you see the car is set up where there are seats at the back of the car and at the front of the car, but in the middle of the car, there are no seats. There are rails that you can hold on to and rails that a handicapped person in a wheelchair can just go into the car and hold on to those. But this one is set up in a manner that is exhibiting just how the cars are set up now. The only difference in this car, and if you go on the World Trade Center train, you will see this setup. The only difference in this car is that pole right there. And this pole will keep you from leaning up against it. And there is advisory in the system itself that tells you not to lean up against it. So instead of them telling you now, they have designed a pole to keep you from leaning up against it. Yeah. So we have to find that out, because this is not like a regular. You have the motorman's car right there, but you don't have a regular car. So it's not telling you, this setup is not telling you how the train is gonna be totally. This one, because look at this. If you look at this one, how the seats are. But if you look at the shuttle train that's running from Grand Central to Times Square, these gray seats, yes, those are seats there, seats there, seats there. Those seats are not on that train. So that's another proposition also. Because this train, in actuality, in reality, this train, the setup on these exhibits right here, was done way earlier this year. It was done, matter of factly, this year when this station was first opened up. So what I'm looking at right now might not even be what they're doing. What Times Square to Grand Central is exhibiting might just be what it is. You're gonna stand more, because I had someone who told me that that's what is coming. You know, there's gonna be more room to fit more people in. They're gonna take out the seats out of the middle of the car. Now, that's a motorman's car right there. Yeah, maybe seats are gonna be in that one. And I'll try to get that for you. Matter of fact, let me try to get it on this video. See, now the regular pole is like this. So if you stand flat up against this pole, no one else can hold on to it. But how that pole upstairs is designed, upstairs with that loop, you can't stand up against it. There's still room for other people to hold on to, because there's just some people that come onto the train and they're comfortable with not considering your safety. So they redesigned that. That's the only difference I see in that. And this is a R142. Yeah, R142. And the R160 is almost the same thing as this car. The only difference is, you see that 4-2 setup on that seat? That's the difference between a 160 and this, which is a 142. Because the 160 has I believe a 3-3 across. So the doors aren't, if you look, the doors are diagonal to each other by one door. See a double door, but it's diagonal by one door. And they squeeze 4 people into that and 2 over there. So the R60 is different. So they're not clear on whether or not there's going to be less seat. The trains upstairs in that exhibit, that setup was created months and months ago. The setup on the train from Grand Central to Times Square has just recently been set up. The setup on the trains that run to World Trade Center has just been set up. So the depiction of those trains upstairs, of those 211s, is not the most recent.
Closing doors, please.
Those setups were there when the station first opened earlier this year by Governor Cuomo. So it looks fancy and all everything, but it's not telling us everything. At least it's not telling me everything. Who am I? I'm the guy who's making a video and asking the question. A little bit of the ride that goes from the Hudson Street station, which is 34th Street, right around Jacob Javits Center, and we're arriving now at Times Square. So I'm gonna go upstairs and try to go to the shuttle and show you exactly what I'm talking about with that car, the setup that's there. Because I'm not convinced that that setup that they're exhibiting at 34th Street is the most recent proposal, or the most recent intention of the MTA. A tunnel here that takes you to Port Authority from Times Square, where you go and catch the A, C, and the E train. In this sector, you're able to board the 7 train down there, and upstairs in the middle of this complex, the middle section of this complex, you're able to get 1, 2, and 3. But further down, you're able to get NQRW and the shuttle train. So the setup that I'm talking about is on the shuttle train. So let's move towards the shuttle train. And as you're moving towards the shuttle train, you have some artworks here on the wall that few people notice as they walk through this concourse. Of course, you got the movie posters over there. And you got local artists who exhibit their stuff. You got one of the few stations that there is a bathroom in every day. That's open. Each station within the system has a set of bathrooms for men and women. The thing is, they're seldom if ever open. But yeah, I mean, it would be ridiculous for the designers and the builders to build this without bathrooms. So each station does have bathrooms in it. And little by little, they're opening more of them for a specific time. So over there, this is the shuttle bay. The shuttle bay consists of 3 platforms. This is, well, they're called tracks, but yeah, track 1, 3, and 4. Then you'll say, where is track 2? Well, track 2 happens to be where they are walking right there. And they eliminate it for it to be utilized as it's being used right now. And you'll see the same thing when you get to Grand Central, which this is Times Square. Times Square right exactly under Walgreen, which on top of Walgreen is the Herald newspaper building. And most people don't know that that's the Herald newspaper building, but that's the building that the Times Square ball is sitting on. So the train on track 3 is about to move up. And the train that I'm talking about, if it's running, because they alternate sometimes depending on how heavy the traffic is. Matter of fact, there's a train coming in on track 4, which is beyond this one. But the train that I'm interested in should arrive on this track if it's running. So we'll wait for that. As we speak, the train on track 4 is arriving. So track 4 is the farthest track from the center of this station. And as you look across the center, Times Square, 42nd Street, that area there is utilized by artists, the musicians, the performers, different performers, dancers and so forth. That space there is, as you can see, there are some Andeans from South America, musicians that are using that right now. But that is used, that's one of the most more popular spot for those, and they have to, those artists, and they have to be certified. That pink banner there is what signifies that they have gone before the committee and been approved to perform. But some people who have not been approved but have auditioned do still perform here and in other spaces. The only difference is that if someone with a banner arrived, then that person, because they don't have a banner and they haven't been approved by the committee, has to leave. So as we speak, here comes the train now that I'm talking about. And I'll try to get into the middle car, which has been set up for what the MTA, I suspect, is more proposing than just the fancy show that's there at 34th Street. Because 34th Street, the trains still remain as it is now with all the seats. As it's proposed in this train that is arriving now, most seats are removed. So let's take a look at this train as it pulls into the station. This is the shuttle train between Grand Central and Times Square Port Authority. the car that I want to take a look at. This is the most recent design that's gone into effect. The ones that we just looked at is an old design, old configuration. This is the newest configuration of a New York City train. So you see the passengers stand on each wall, and on each wall you have a rail that runs the entire length. Except for these seats. See at the back, there are seats. And at the front of the car, there are seats. So if you can imagine with the setup of those cars at 34th Street, and this setup of you standing up against the wall, holding on to these railings, and the open gantry of those cars, now you see the feasibility of that type of a plan, with seats at the back for older people who can't stand, regardless of if there are railings or not. You see? Yeah. As I looked at what they had set up at 34th Street, it still looks like this, which is the regular setup of the car. The only difference is that the poles, these poles here are straight. And those poles have that bow in it, so even if those inconsiderate people stand up against it, they can't block you from holding on. Mm-hmm. And I guess supposedly this system would allow these cars to carry more people. Well, we'll see which one but this is the most recent setup. The ones at 34th Street was set up on those cars when those cars originally were brought into that station when it opened. And that station's been open probably about a year now, so that proposition is old. This is the newest.
There is a train arriving on track.
And we looked at that number. The number of this car is R62A. Because you have B division and A division. So this is a R62A. And the train that's at 34th Street is a R211. So the most recent train, all of these trains, the cars within these trains are R62A. Sorry. You see that one decorated as Brooks Brothers. It seems as though this video is about to end. I'm going to give you a total ride duration of this particular line, this particular run, which is from Grand Central to Times Square, and it goes back and forth. So they might just be proposing this just for this type of short run. But one of the MTA worker told me that, I know, it's a system-wide proposition. So, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, 34th Street exhibit does not depict, in my estimation what the MTA intends to do. I think this is a more likely scenario. See, everyone in the middle of the track is standing, and only the back and the extreme front has seats. So we're still on this run, and the train is slowing down, coming into track 1.
Happy holidays.